This is a Zerg versus Terran. I just played on the ladder. This is my first chance playing on this map. I haven't had a single game on it yet this season. I guess a lot of people don't like that you can play super defensively, but I don't mind that. I want to play a longer game anyhow. And you do have the tools in the later game as Zerg to combat that with your Broodlords and your Lurkers that now have the ability to burrow faster. Once you get the Hive, they have an upgrade. I'm going to zoom through the first little bit because it is my really standard opener, the hatch gas pool. I noticed that it looks like, so you have that base at the back that's only got half minerals but does have 2 gas. But then out front, it looks like there's 2 or maybe even 3 bases you could sort of all take together. I guess it's a little bit abusable by drop play, but I've been seeing a lot less Bio-Terran recently. They've been playing a lot more mech.
You're engaging the opponent.
So I got my Overlord in here. I actually see that I completely juke out this Marine. It's great. I get into the base with my Overlord. It doesn't even have speed yet and see everything. So I find out that this is a factory. I find out that they're making more barracks. I go, okay, so this looks like maybe a drop play. So that means starting at 4 minutes, I need to make nothing but units for a little bit to make sure that I will be able to defend a drop if it does come in. So they're getting the add-on there. It's the tech lab. Say, okay, well, it looks like they're going to swap the other barracks onto the tech lab and do a 16 Marine drop would be a thing I'd assume could be happening. So I should have got my Baneling Nest a tiny bit sooner, but you can do this with just Zerglings and Queens. It's easier, though, if you also have some Banelings in the mix. I'll make sure I get my creep spread started to get out on the map. So right now I'm still drones, nothing but drones and overlords and queens, because queens don't cost larvae. Then as soon as it hits 4 minutes, I transition into nothing but zerglings for a little bit until I'm sure that there is not actually an attack incoming. So you see that should be my last drones right there. And then after this it should be all zerglings getting made for a little bit. See, I'm late on this Baneling Nest starting. It could have started at like 3.5 minutes, and then I could be starting to make Banelings at 4 minutes, but it's okay. Like, I know that particular drop that I think my opponent might be doing is defendable with only Zerglings and Queens. It's just very hard. I'm just trying to rally my Zerglings to smart places for that. There's not a lot of dead airspace on this map, so it might not actually be practical to be doing that. So they might just be massing up Bio too. And it turns out that is in fact what they're doing. They're just massing Bio tank. So I realize here in about, I don't know, 45 seconds, well, they don't have anything that appears to be coming in and attacking me. It should arrive at 5 minutes or shortly thereafter. I haven't seen anything going that would make me believe they are doing this attack any longer. So I decided to move my Zerglings a little bit more forward on the map. I really should be spreading them out a little bit more to get more information. When they're all in one big clump like that, I'm not getting as much vision as I could be. Still working on my creep there. Said, okay, I can get a layer. Plan here is, as always, Hydralisks and Banelings to attack with. And then, if needed, transition into Broodlords with Corruptors with Broodlords. I also get the Lurker Den this match because they just changed in the big balance update that now you have a Lurker Den as a separate thing once you build your Hydralisk Den. That lets you morph your Hydralisks into Lurkers. And then also at the Hive, you have an upgrade for the Lurker that makes it burrow and unburrow more quickly. So at this point I'm just like, well, my opponent doesn't seem to be doing anything, but I really need to verify that. Gotta make my Hydralisk Den to get those up. But I would really like to know what my opponent is doing on their side of the map. I'm just still making as many workers as I possibly can, because the whole goal here is to just have so much resources you can constantly produce so much army that you can just obliterate your opponent. Like, if you're okay, there's some tanks. They're positioned in a way that suggests that my opponent is not leaving their base very soon. starting with the armor upgrade, because against Terran it makes all your units have much greater survivability. I realized, oh, I actually want to take this base. I put this creep tumor in a kind of not a great place. Had to attack it with the queen to get rid of it. So I said, well, I just want to take more bases, and we'll try to play a late game here. Try to engage the bio. You see my Baneling speed upgrade is on its way. My Hydralisk speed range upgrade is on the way.
Hope you have an expansion.
I do eventually realize that I need to get a second evolution chamber to start doing double upgrades. Start with one just because you guys spend the gas on other stuff, but now it's getting to the point where I should be upgrading two at a time on the attack and defense upgrades for my units. So, well, if I'm taking that base out front, I can probably take this base in the back. It's a little bit vulnerable to getting dropped between them, but if you keep your opponent from ever getting on your side of the map by constantly being out on the map, it's not as much of a problem. They could still send 1 or 2 medevacs over there and keep their main army together, though. So now I'm making a bunch of Hydralisks. Their upgrade is about to finish. I've started level 2 armor. I'm still waiting for my other evolution chamber to be ready so that I can also get additional upgrades from it. So, well, I haven't seen my opponent's army in a while. I should go check on that.
Evolution complete.
Okay, so it's a bunch of Marines with medevacs. I've seen a couple tanks. Looks like they're making a planetary right here. I don't really need to engage this further, so I decided not to. Said, oh, I should... This map has these weird lane blocker things in some of the middle of the map where your units kind of wander through them weirdly, but you can knock down these rocks and you can go around it a lot of the time. So I start doing that. I have a whole bunch of Hydralisks, so they deal a ton of damage. It doesn't take very long to knock down the rocks. And I didn't actually realize there's actually 2 sets of debris there that you have to knock down. So I didn't shift queue them onto the next one yet. So I go back here and go, wait, there's still rocks here? Why are there still rocks here? And then I realize, oh, well, there were 2. Come back here, realize that there's my upgrades. Still got only the one going on. I guess I just missed it that time. I might not even notice until my +2 carapace finishes that I need to start upgrading on my other evolution chamber. But I did start the Lurker Den, thinking, well, I have all these Hydralisks. Lurkers are good at positioning stuff. They eat bio for days. And then if the bio tries to load the medevacs, the Hydralisks are left shoot them down. So, yeah, get over here and go, wait a minute, why is this still here? Oh, there's 2 spaces for them? So you see I can move much more freely now through the middle of the map, although when I try to go to these other debris and destroy them, you see the Hydralisk pathing through those. I did shift-click those ones for the attack, so both sets will be destroyed over here. As Zerg, you always just want more open map for more maneuverability. I've started transition to getting a Hive, a Spire to eventually become a Greater Spire, to go for the very late game. Neither of my evolution chambers is upgrading there. I don't actually have very much money, so maybe I just couldn't right then. That's good when I look at this top and see that I have very little money, which means I'm doing a good job spending. Go through, make sure to hit the injects to keep producing, getting close to maxing out here. Finally go back, oh, I don't even have +1 attack for my melee or my range yet. So I start those up.
Mineral field depleted.
Start making some lurkers, because I'm thinking I'm going to go engage. And if there's bio, I want to get all shredded by the banelings and the lurkers. I do a little bit of a bad job positioning them here in this first fight. They get, by my units, they're getting hit by siege tanks, so the splash damage ends up hitting the lurkers. I think I fixed that in some future engagements. So you see, I've just hit max supply, so I'm going to go up here and see what's going on. I know I have money to remax at least some of this army. So you see how quick my lurkers shredded that bunker with the Hydralisks. but they're also taking some splash damage when the Hydralisks are right with them. And I unfortunately moved them up instead of back there, so they take some additional splash damage. And the scan does eventually get them. I think I did manage to evacuate there, but I'm not 100% sure. Okay, well, I'm getting really high minerals here, but not quite as much gas. Which is good, because I usually have it the wrong way around, where I have all this gas and not enough minerals. It's much better to have too many minerals, because you can always make more Zerglings with more minerals. Whereas if you have 1,000 gas and no minerals, there's not a lot you can do. I just kind of derp out with my infestors there, or my... I should make more infestors too, as long as they're on my mind. But with my lurkers there, and run them right into where the siege tank is firing, instead of actually burrowing them. I don't use lurkers very often, so my micro is really poor on that front. But they seem quite good in this game, so I might keep making more of them. I realize here in a minute, once I've got the hive, that I need to go back and grab all the other upgrades. So there's the adrenal glands for the Zerglings, which makes them attack 40% faster. There's the upgrade that lets the lurkers burrow and unburrow more quickly too. I started a Greater Spire because if my current army composition can't get things done, I'm going to go for Corruptor Broodlord. I should really mix some infestors into that in the future too. So that'll have to be a thing that I just look at doing. There we go, I finally saw all the things I need, so I can see I'm getting the upgrades for the adrenal glands for the Zergling and digging claws for the lurkers, which are the hive tech upgrades. Just now researching burrow. I don't think I actually end up using it once this game, because lurkers can already do that anyway, but it's good to have if you do make infestors. Because it lets them... They can move while burrowed, and they can also cast a lot of their spells from burrow.
Evolution complete.
I haven't seen anything in this game that makes me think I need Vipers, but that's a unit that I do sometimes get in the late game. But everything here looks like it's just bio, or maybe bio tank. It doesn't look like they're making large numbers of Vikings or battle cruisers or anything like that where I would want a Viper. So I'm maxed out again with a bunch of money to remax. So I'm just going looking for a fight. I should have actually knocked down these rocks more sooner than I did, but at least I eventually got to it.
Evolution complete.
Just lets me siege more quickly toward my opponents. I guess that would be their third base. I don't know if the one in the back is a third or fourth, what you call it, their third and a half base. So I go up here to engage again. My lurker's a little too far back when I do the initial burrow. Should really have them maybe up here the first time when I start. But this shreds through a lot of bio. Even though they scan, I managed to take out a lot of their forces with that. And I am going to be able to remax with units that are more useful, I think.
You're engaging the opponent.
So I just make some Banelings there to try to stay safe if they try to run with their bio over near me. And then I'm making Corruptors, which I want to turn some of those into Broodlords. Keep realizing, oh, I still need more gas, I still need more gas. Which is fine, because this is the opposite of the problem I've been having, so the fact that I'm actually making sure I have enough minerals is good. Now I've just got to scale it to where I'm getting the appropriate number of each all the time. But at least I'm not having 3,000 gas and no way to spend it all. I got here, realize I still have kind of a lot of supply tied up with these Zerglings and Banelings and stuff. I need to trade some of that off, because I want to make some of these Corruptors into Broodlords, which take up more supply.
That field's been mined out. Hope you have an expansion.
So my +3 ground armor is about to finish. Maybe Could have sent some Zerglings here instead of the Banelings that cost the gas, but oh well. Still frees up some supply at least, so I can make some more Corruptors. Because I need enough Corruptors in the air to deal with if they do make some Vikings to still be there. In addition to just the Broodlords. And then I'm just going to use pure Zergling, Baneling on the ground to attack with.
We're running out of minerals back home.
In addition to the air army there. And then I think I still have a couple Hydralisks left, but it's not a whole lot.
Mineral field depleted.
I'm not building more Hydralisks. I'm building just Zerglings and Corruptors. And then morphing those into the Banelings and the Broodlords. I said, oh, I should maybe morph this into a Dropper Lord and put some Banelings in it to take over to my opponent's siege tanks here. Maybe they'll go ahead and shoot each other, do some damage for me.
Hope you have an expansion.
And it's a mild success. I wouldn't say it's anything super amazing. It does pull my opponent's army out of position for a minute, but I'm not quick enough to take advantage of it.
We're running out of
So I drop right here
home.
on their SCV, their siege tank fires on their other siege tank. But I drop my Banelings too quickly, so it only gets one shot off. So the army's all up that way, so I start moving toward the front, but there's siege tanks here.
Don't spend it all in one place.
But I was trying to just drop some supply so I can morph in some Broodlords. I actually need to drop even more supply to morph in more Broodlords. So I'm going to send the Zerglings up in a second to try to get on top of my opponent's stuff. So that maybe they'll do some friendly fire with their siege tanks, and that will free up my supply for the Broodlords. Which ideally I maybe morph a little bit further back. But they are so slow, and I haven't seen any real anti-air. Like, there's Marines, but Marines aren't effective anti-air against Broodlords.
That mineral field's gone. Don't spend it all in one place.
Because the Broodlings will make short work of the Marines, which is what I think happens right here.
Mutation complete.
So I still have just a couple Hydralisks that are left over from earlier. I keep remaking Corruptors and Zerglings. So we finally have an engagement with, like, big army versus big army here.
Your forces are under attack.
Broodlords spawn free units, so that's pretty good. Then my Corruptors are all trying to pick off the Medivacs because there's no other flying units here. They're eating up a lot of the Thor shots, which is good. Rather have them eating Thor shots than the Broodlords. Broodlings also cause the tanks to fire on them and potentially friendly fire each other that way, which is pretty awesome. So I just keep dancing back and forth with the Corruptors there. Eventually I realize, oh, there's no real anti-air here. I can just win with the Broodlords. Reinforce with pure Zergling should be enough. And indeed it turns out to be.